So as one of the most seasoned vets in the game, looking back with over 2 decades of knowledge of doing this stuff, and obviously you've refined this process consciously and unconsciously, what are the kind of keys to the kingdom? What are the acceleration shortcuts you would have passed on to a 25-year-old self in hindsight to save a lot of stress and pain and get to where you wanted to go as fast as possible?
Well, the thing is, James, I mastered the game. No, in all seriousness, though, well, the key thing for me really is not to be worried about rejection. And I know maybe we've said this kind of thing before, but it's like I was so concerned about rejection as a younger guy. So it seemed like such a monumental thing. And if you can free yourself from that and realise that actually rejection in terms of dating, but other areas as well, it doesn't really matter. It's something that you need to lean into. That would have saved. That would have sped up my progress a lot, and also just
were you playing not to lose in a sense then?
Yeah, exactly. To quote,
validation for the good feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. To quote our Lord and Master, Mr. Rich Cooper, definitely I was playing not to lose rather than playing to win. And to be honest, I mean, when I was a younger guy, I wasn't playing at all, because I was so scared of rejection that I wouldn't even approach. But what I've discovered is that you've got to go out there and you've got to try and make things happen for yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. So I wish I'd have told my 18-year-old self, I wish I'd have said, listen, rejection doesn't matter. Go out there and approach like a beast, and you will get results over time. I mean, it really is kind of that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. I think leaning into rejection is a big part of it. I think accepting that as well, because we always say this, but we play a game of inherent losses. We always say, and these stats have been verified, what a tune, 1 in 30 approaches equals a new girl in your bed. And those stats are roughly on point. That means 29 times out of 30, nothing goes down, right? Yeah. So technically, you've been rejected 29 times out of 30 if your parameter for success is to get physical with the girl. But as you said, leaning into that rejection and realising it's just not a big deal.
It's difficult, actually, the rejection thing, though, because you'll see guys online taking the urine out of rejections. You'll see black pill guys making compilations of fails of dating coaches.
Or rejection compilations.
Yeah.
And it's actually rejection clips piled together that I've created, and then they're using that to quote, "Oh, look at his terrible game." So I do not understand the point of the clips.
Yeah. Well, either they don't, or they're being disingenuous, and they're just doing it as a way to throw mud at you. But the thing is, guys are very, very afraid of rejection, to the point that they'll spend time actually making rejection reels, not realising that actually we completely acknowledge that that's just part of the process, right? But would you rather be sitting at home in your underpants laughing at some rejection videos and thinking, oh, I'm superior to that guy because I don't get rejected, or would it be better to just drop your ego, put yourself out there, get in some interactions, yes, get rejected, but then at least have the hope of making something happen at the end of the day? For too long, my ego was so fragile that I just couldn't countenance the idea of potentially getting rejected. But one thing, it's more difficult as well if you're surrounded by a group of friends or your cohort, and they are sort of keeping you down. If you're with a bunch of mates and they're like, oh, look at Jimmy, he's and they'll all laugh at you if you get rejected. That's a bad position to be in, and you might need to break away from those people, because I think that social circle, it really can hold you down with that.
Yeah, completely agree. There's a certain level of vulnerability in being rejected or putting it on the line, which women really respect, because you're being your authentic self. There's very few traits in life more attractive than true authenticity, being who you are and owning it. And, putting yourself out there, going up to a girl saying she looks good and trying to have a conversation. The reason the response in day game are typically not harsh is women understand the tremendous pair of cojones it takes with the softening of the modern male to actually do something like that. Yeah. So you rarely get horrendous kind of F off or.
Do you think they do realise how difficult it is for guys, though? I think some do. I think some
because of the whole thing, and we see it time and again, where we kind of gamify the session and we'll deliberately throw the student into doing hard approaches. They get extra brownie points if it's a hard approach, if it's a socially pressured approach. Women are incredibly perceptive. I think they maybe can't empathise entirely with the male experience as we can, obviously, as we can't really empathise with the female experience. But I think they really do understand social confidence and how that plays out. And as a matter of fact, it's more prevalent in today because they see how pussified guys are and how they're unable to actually go and approach.
Well, they're going to have experienced a lot of guys looking at them and obviously eyeing them up and not actually doing anything. So I think from that point of view, they must recognise that it's a rare thing, for a guy actually to man up. But I mean, I told this story the other day, but I've had experiences where I've approached a girl. Like there was a girl, a Turkish girl actually, that I was seeing. I was actually dating her for a while in London, and she blatantly said to me, "Look, you wouldn't normally be my type. You're not the kind of guy I would normally go for. But the fact that you approached me in that way, it was so ballsy that I really admired that, and that's why I wanted to get to see you again and get to know you. So, can you bet outside your league? I mean, yeah, you can to some extent because it changes the context in which they see you. Like if she'd have just seen me on Tinder, she probably would have just swiped past, right? But the fact that I made that approach, it made her think, oh, this guy's got something about him, and then we ended up dating.
So tip number 1, lean fearlessly into rejection and accept that we play a game of inherent losses, and it's okay. And we'll see you in the next episode for tip 2 from the vault, the archives of the Francis mind.